Today I'm going to show you how I wash and store my produce so that it lasts for weeks and sometimes even months without going bad. Stay tuned throughout the whole video as I'll be talking about different produce at different times and also sharing some yummy recipes I made with my fresh produce. Whenever I get my fridge down to barely anything in it, I like to take everything out, wipe down all the shelves, take out the crisper drawer, get out all the crumbs in there so that I can start the week with a clean slate. Much better. All we have really is some homemade yogurt, sourdough starter, leftover pancakes, kombucha starter. So let's fill this with produce. So I've got my setup. I've got my distilled white vinegar. It needs to be 5% acidity. I've got some towels laid out to let everything dry on. Got all the veggies I want to wash. Got a large bowl that I will add 10 cups of water and a 1/4 cup of white vinegar to. I'm honestly just gonna eyeball it. And this is what we will soak our veggies in, and then we will lay them out to dry completely, and then we will store them. Tired. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, you're supposed to let it soak for only 2 minutes. Set a timer, because you don't want to over soak your veggies. So I will be setting a timer to make sure I only have them in for 2 minutes. Put in our carrots, these bigger things together, and here we go. All right. All right, next I'm doing cherry tomatoes, just so that I don't forget, because I often lose track of time. I don't know about you guys, but cherry tomatoes scare me because I never know if they're going to be moldy or squishy on the inside. So it was very exciting to start this habit of going through them right when I get home, getting the moldy ones out and washing them so that they can all stay nice and not get each other moldy. So our cilantro comes in plastic with usually a lot more dirt than this, but I'm going to cut off the roots and then we'll soak it and dry it completely before we store it in a jar with some water. I'm not gonna lie, I usually just look for a bunch of dirt on the leaves and then just go ahead and use it without washing. So this was very eye-opening to see how much dirt came off this cilantro. Try to shake off as much water as possible and we'll get it all spread out. Oh man, it's looking so good so far. It's exciting to not waste any of this. All right, last two things, lettuce and green onion. Before I dump this out, I guess you can see all the dirt that's in there from the cilantro. So definitely pretty nasty, and I usually would eat that. All right, 2 minutes. Let all of this dry. When I think about it, I'll move some stuff around so that every side can get dry. But then I will show you how I store it and we'll see how it does this week. All right, I've had a fun day with friends down by the pool. I'm in PJs now and I'm just about to check on my veggies. They all look dry, and so we are going to package them up and we'll see how long they last. So you just want everything to be super dry. I've come in a couple times just as I've been passing by, flipped over lettuce, kind of moved the tomatoes around to make sure they're getting all dry. Cilantro looks pretty good. These bigger things will obviously dry quicker, but yeah, I think we are ready to get it all put away and in the fridge. All right, we will hopefully see this perk up as it's in the fridge tomorrow. I'll be sure to show you guys, because that's what happened with the last herbs I did. That lasted for a week, so, but there's our cilantro. Ideally for the lettuce, I would use a glass container, but I think they're all being used. So we are gonna try plastic. Just gonna stick a paper towel in. I don't know if this will all fit. My lettuce is honestly still a little wet. I think the drier it is, the better. We will see how this goes. Lastly is the green onion, which I think I just stick in here and stick by a windowsill. This is a huge stalk of green onion. It actually had flowers on it, which I wish I had noticed because I think that changes the flavor, but I might trim the ends. And I need to go check on my kids who are having a hard time. Okay, there are a few things that I do not wash and that you don't need to wash until right before you use them, and that is potatoes. I have some sweet potatoes, white potatoes. So I am just going to store them in a dry, cool place, kind of on their own. And another thing I obviously don't wash are onions and garlic. I try to keep those just dry and on their own, and usually they don't go bad. As for bananas, these are actually the most thrown away food out of all the foods. And unless you buy organic, bananas are sprayed with something called ethylene, and that helps ripen them. So if they're picked when they're not ripe, they will be ripe by the time they get to the grocery store and look beautiful and you'll want to buy them, but that ripening process doesn't end when you bring them home. So they keep ripening, they get really spotty and brown very quickly. So the best thing to do is to keep them on their own, away from any other produce. It's also helpful to hang them up and keep them in a warm environment, not like a hot environment, but they're tropical fruits. So they don't particularly like to be stored in the fridge. So I don't mind having ripe bananas because we make banana bread smoothies all the time. So I usually just store them by my onions and garlic, and it isn't a problem if they get ripe really quickly because we just buy more. But yeah, if you want them to last longer, store them by themselves, hanging up. And if your kid eats some and then it doesn't get finished, store it with the peel on, if you can, in a glass jar with the metal lid, and it will last a lot longer than if it's just open or exposed in the fridge. All right, a little bit of a weird angle, but I'm learning so much about avocados because I don't like wasting them. They are a precious commodity here. They're not usually the cheapest. Like, what was this? Maybe $1.50 for one, and that's a good price. So what I have learned is that they are ripe when it feels like how your fingers feel when you smush them together. So if kind of the flesh of the avocado feels like this, then you know they're ripe. And when they are ripe, that is when you wash them again with the 10 cups of water to a 1/4 cup of vinegar. And then you let them dry completely, and then you store them in your fridge with your oranges and lemons, and they will just stay ripe and fresh until you want them, which is very exciting. So these are finally ready. I'm gonna wash them in my water and vinegar and stick them in my fridge. So once I get all my produce washed and cleaned and put in its containers, I just store it in the fridge. Just wanted to show you how amazing the cilantro is looking just after one night in the fridge. So it definitely perked up after sitting in some water. This is so exciting, guys. I never use cilantro. I always buy it. It sits in the fridge till it's our taco night, and by that point it is slimy and gross and I throw it away. So we will have cilantro. I still have this Chinese celery, or I forget what it's called. I think it's Chinese celery that I don't know what to do with, but we will find a use for it because it just keeps lasting. So very exciting. Had a bunch of frozen food in the freezer, so I just thawed it. Actually, the sauce, the veggies, the chickpeas, all in the freezer. And it was so nice to have something green on top with the green onion on my windowsill. My favorite way to eat a bunch of veggies is in green curry. We had Thai with friends the other day, and we saved all the leftover curry sauce, which was great because I forgot green curry paste at the store. And we are just gonna load it up with my veggies. I didn't even end up washing my zucchini. I don't find it goes bad, but it's definitely something I would do if I needed to. But the green bell pepper is great. Broccoli I didn't wash, and it usually is fine. So yeah. It's nice to not worry about food going bad, just knowing which ones to wash and which ones usually last a while. I just sauteed some onion and garlic in a little bit of coconut oil, added in a bunch of chopped veggies, and then completely forgot to show me pouring in the extra curry sauce. All right, a very veggie-filled green curry using leftovers and all of my produce that was still in good shape, and some white rice because we love it. All right, we are making tomato soup tonight, and these are the cherry tomatoes that I stored about 2 weeks ago. They would have been so moldy if they were on the counter, and they are crisp and beautiful. So I'm gonna roast these with onions and garlic, blend them with some canned tomatoes as well, and cashews, and make a yummy tomato soup. This is definitely our new favorite tomato soup recipe. Use a bunch of cherry tomatoes, an onion, garlic, a little bit of olive oil and salt, and roast everything until sweet and caramelized. As you can see, after roasting for about 20-30 minutes, those cherry tomatoes have popped and are caramelized and golden on top, so I just scoop all of that goodness into my blender, add 1 can of chopped tomatoes, add in a handful of cashews, some mixed herbs, salt, and then you're just gonna blend this until smooth. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the best tomato soups I have made. I added a little bit more water just to blend up the cashews, and it was too thick. Water and a little bit more salt was all I added, and this is definitely one of our family's favorite dinners. So I'm gonna make garlic bread and enjoy this. The whole family agreed that this was definitely the best tomato soup I've ever made. So I last minute am having some friends over for taco bowls tomorrow. And my cilantro is so fresh, I'm gonna use it right now to make some cherry tomato salsa because my cherry tomatoes are also super crisp and juicy. So in here I have half an onion in here and a clove of garlic. Then I will add 3 cups of cherry tomatoes, half a cup of cilantro, and then I'll kind of, strain out the liquid and then add salt and lime juice and we'll be good to go. But very excited that my cilantro is super happy and fresh and I can use some in the salsa and we can still put some on top. So let's make this. Taco bowls are definitely my go-to hosting recipe, so I am always making this cherry tomato salsa, and it has been so nice to go into my fridge and know that I have fresh cherry tomatoes that aren't moldy, and I can use them for either soup or this salsa. As you can see, I just used half an onion, a couple cloves of garlic, 3 cups of cherry tomatoes, a large handful of cilantro, blended that all up, added lime juice and salt, and all of my friends, whenever I serve this, love this salsa. My windows are open and it's a beautiful breezy day. And we are gonna make some carrot lox. So let's check on our washed and stored carrots and see if they're still hard and crunchy and not rubbery. Oh yeah, hard. Great. So yeah, I'm gonna try carrot lox for the first time. I'm gonna peel these, put them on a bed of sea salt and coat them in sea salt and roast them at 475 for about 40 minutes to an hour. And then I'll show you what I do next. Don't worry, you do not eat all of this salt, but we had carrot lox a ton in Vietnam, and so I wanted to try to recreate it. I definitely have a lot to learn on how to make it an easier process, but once you roast them, you want to peel or cut them into thin strips. All right, we got 3 tablespoons of olive oil.
No, let me say it. Where's vinegar? Joop, 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 joop. It smells good, that smell.
My daughter was adamant about being in my video and wanted to help be my sous chef, so she helped make this marinade for the carrot lox.
Mama, why does it smell so weird? And now I'm gonna put the carrots in.
Like I said, this was my first time making this and I was just following someone else's recipe. I found these carrots to be way too olive oil tasting, so I would definitely cut back on the olive oil next time. And now here I am making a cashew cream cheese. Yet again, just found a recipe online. It definitely needed the garlic and herbs that I ended up adding at the end because it was a little too strong on the apple cider vinegar taste. But once I added in the garlic and some herbs that I had on hand, it ended up being really delicious. So for our unique meal with my freshly washed and stored carrots, we made carrot lox bagels with cashew cream cheese. We added some thinly sliced cucumber, some sesame seeds, and this was dinner. We are towards the end of the week. As you can see, my fridge is bare. I have not thrown any produce away. I still have some long-lasting veggies like cabbage. My mushrooms are still fine. I need to make veggie burgers with them. And these snap peas always last a while, so we're gonna eat these with lunch. Yes, they are in plastic. And my avocado is still good and ready to be eaten. I'm gonna have some avo toast with some veggies and then get to the store and do it all again. So literally the last veggies in my crisper drawer are mushrooms and cabbage, which look fine. Whenever I use a cabbage, I just peel off one of the outer leaves that's kind of wilted, and I just use that kind of as a plastic wrap to just keep the exposed parts looking good. And my mushrooms are completely fine. I'm just gonna wipe them down to get the dirt off, and we are gonna use what we have to make some kind of noodle stir fry. But yeah, we are down to nothing in my fridge and nothing got thrown away. This was honestly kind of a weird combo of leftovers, but I've become really passionate about not going to the store until I really need to, because otherwise my food does go bad, or I just let it sit there versus forcing myself to be creative. So this was a random combo of green curry, veggies, and noodles. If you guys enjoy my recipes, be sure to check out my 8-week meal plan where I've taken all of the guesswork and planning out of your shopping week by making grocery lists, giving you dinner prep step ideas, choosing all the recipes for you to make your weeks run more smoothly.